6 o'clock, which should be any minute now.
13
any
seconds,
now.
bros. 13 seconds.
But we turn on the audio 5 minutes before.
Okay, ready, baby?
Yeah.
And now I have a real countdown here. In 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. I told you the cameras are going to be bunked up a little bit. Baby, let's get your camera squared up. Oh, that's not too bad.
That's not so bad. Yeah. It's a little dark, but we can live with that.
A little dark, yeah. Well, you would think the lights would stay the same every time, but they do not, because I don't know jack shit about lighting and/or If only we knew someone about lighting. Come in.
I know. If only we had an actual professional light designer
come over,
who is a good friend of ours.
We'll throw a burger down his throat. We'll get all this done. It'll be great.
And in fact, the one time this year that we hosted said professional lighting designer was to Scott and Christopher installed shelving.
Oh, it wasn't Scott and Christopher. Christopher has one of those mathematical minds and so he hung up all of the rails and all the shelves.
And what did you do?
I got to DJ.
Well, that's okay.
I was like, do you want my help? He's like, well, you could put on some music. I'm like, what kind of music do you like, sir? Because I can handle that shit right there.
It's 80s music.
For 80s kids. What do you want? Hey, Sean.
The good news
is... Hey, Matt McRoberts, what's up?
Scott worked harder than I did on that day when Christopher installed our new closet system in the master bedroom, because I sat downstairs with his gorgeous wife and drank a bottle and a half of wine.
Nico. So. And this is how old I know I am. Now I do things like, baby got me socks for Christmas.
We should talk.
Amongst many presents. Oh shit, I forgot to turn the goddamn timer. Hold on, babe.
Okay. So you guys, we're going to talk a little bit about our Christmas gifts and our Christmas day. Both were a little bit crazy. Then he's going to read, and then we're going to come back. And if you guys have questions or whatever, wait until he's sort of almost done reading to put them in the chat room, because I won't be able to scroll back.
We're going to go a little bit before this 5-minute thing because I forgot to turn it on.
That's okay.
Screw it.
So how was your Christmas?
My Christmas was grand. I got
what was your favorite gift?
My favorite gift. I'm going to wear it for you guys right now.
So I have this history of buying Scott things that he wants and needs, but are not terribly expensive things or not very important pricey things. And it's always one of those things that wins the day. This was this year's favorite gift.
How's it going, eh? It's a little bit snowy up there in Sheboygan, eh? So, we're going to have us a little bit of a scotch. I got no Molson. We're out of Molson, eh? So here we go. Cheers, there, eh?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, you guys. I always get him a gift, and the gift I think that's going to be the big winner, it's always something goofy. Like last year, it was these little wooden things that go on the arm of your couch.
Hey, Paul.
So you can rest a drink there or whatever. They're called couch caddies. He loves them.
Tin Man, what's going on?
This one is his favorite this year. It's an ice fishing hat. We live in Southern California, you guys. It was 80 degrees on Christmas Day. So
listen, I'm a walking cadaver. I am trying to reduce my body fat even as where it is right now, and I get very cold and I have a bald head. So then I also got this going. Hey, man, you come buy some flowers for me.
Okay, so I will tell you my favorite gift I'm also wearing. I got these necklaces from Scott. I'm gonna lean in close, and then or you can talk about them if you want.
Yeah.
So because I can't. I'll get
this one is both for her and for all of you guys. Wait, not this one. The little Kraken necklace.
Yeah, this is a Kraken's necklace, and it comes from a company called Little Rooms, which is woman-owned, and they're fantastic.
Okay.
This is an orange sapphire that sort of matches my wedding.
That's right. Deck my girl out, and this is the best. A Real Girl Herself necklace. That is a term I don't know. She's always had the nickname A Real Girl, but I added herself, and I've been doing that nonstop since I started the podcast, 15 years ago? Somewhere in the ballpark?
At least.
And so I got her the necklace to make it official. She is now officially A Real Girl herself.
And Scott got me a couple of other presents, which are beautiful too, but it just so happened that I opened these in a row, and I just kept putting them on, and I haven't taken them off since Christmas, because I sort of like the triple vibe there, and it's a little black and a little orange, a little A Real Girl herself. It's nice.
Right
I like it.
Up a little bit of
so this is what we did. But then I will also tell you, and then he's going to cut out a little early to read his story. But our Christmas Day was so pandemic appropriate and crazy. We stopped at my folks' house in the morning. We had actually had a whole day with them on Friday, but we went up because we had to help them with their cell phones. They got new cell phones, and we had to help them with their cell phones. So we went and saw them, which was lovely to see my folks on Christmas. My mom is a crazy Christmas lady. party. So that was super fun. And then we drove all the way south, like an hour and a half south, to go to our friend's house for dinner, which was the plan. And we were literally turning onto their street when she texted and said, "I'm so sorry. My spouse got suddenly ill. I'm not risking it. I'm not risking you guys, and you can't come." And so there was going to be us, that couple, and one other couple. So I got on the phone with the other couple, drove to their house, swapped half of my sides for half of their desserts, and then drove home. And so we drove for about 5.5 hours on Christmas Day, and then ended up right where we started, having not actually spent any holiday cheer time with anybody, and had Christmas dinner here just alone together. But I really appreciate, like, it's a weird moment.
Keep talking. I know how I screwed this up. Keep going.
It's a weird moment in this pandemic where the right answer,
there we go.
These friends of yours, these people you love, the right answer is to cancel 15 minutes before the event is supposed to start. And that's exactly what they did. They protected us and protected themselves.
Yep.
And the next day, Scott had a little bit of a head cold, totally unrelated to the reason for the cancellation, but he's fine today. I had a little bit of sniffles also this morning, but they seem to have cleared up. So the right thing is to dodge that bullet.
Hey, John Bivens.
Was it weird and was it a shame? Sure. But better this than sick.
All right, darling wife, get the fuck out of my office. It's time to do what I do best. Now, when Wolverine says that shit, do what I do best, is because he's about to chink, pop out the claws, and do some damage. Unfortunately, I don't...
Turn off my mic?
Yep, you're good call, baby. Let's go through the checklist. Yep, turn off mic, chair, boom, done. Let's turn off A's mic, get a clean sound. You guys, Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg is not at all happy with the sound quality that's going on right here. It's his job to try and jazz that up after the final thing. But I did get a new pop filter for my microphone. Notice the big bulbous black thing pointed toward my face. Sounds pretty good. So here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. You may have your own big bulbous black things in your house. It's your own business. We don't judge. We don't judge. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the headphones off. I'm going to commence to the reading. Warning, this could be anywhere from a 35 to 40-minute reading because I went into a writing coma at 10 o'clock and came out of it at 5. This was supposed to be 2,300 words. I have it very specifically measured. It's more than that. It's probably close to almost 4,000 words. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. Remember, I will not be looking at the chat room when I read to you, but my darling wife will be in the chat room checking everything out. So if you have any questions or anything, and of course, please jibber jab and chat throughout the whole reading, because if you don't pay attention, it doesn't matter because it's going to be in the podcast feed this very Sunday. Let's get to business. I did forget to mention, if you did not see my social media posts, shame on you. You should all be following me on social media all the time. Well, you shouldn't even have a life. Just follow me on social media. The thing is, I've already read episode 1 before, but now this is episode 1 because I saw some things that had to be fixed. It's all part of the experiment, okay? It's all part of the, I put in the Twitch post that I'm going to show you my sausage. This is my sausage. This is how the sausage is made. So take a good gander as my sausage goes into your ear, and let's get into it. This is now the actual beginning of Slay. The smell of leather. The taste of blood. She'd had enough bloody lips, enough little splinters or small cuts. Oh, also, I don't have the graphic up yet. Let me fix this. Sorry, guys. Working on it. The hell? Give me 1 second. Main. There it is. I'm going to start over. If you hear me snap, that's because I am taking a quick pause because I flubbed a line. And when we get done with this, Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg takes it and cuts out all the snaps and all the flubs. So it'll be a pristine, a pure audio for you when you listen to the podcast feed on Sunday. Let's try again. Here we go with the opening episode of Slay. The smell of leather. The taste of blood. She'd had enough bloody lips, enough little splinters or small cuts she'd automatically sucked at to know that metallic tang. Anastasia felt so groggy, so thick. She licked wetness from her lips and tasted it again. But her lips didn't hurt. Maybe she'd scraped herself in her sleep. She didn't know. Something tight around her throat. Her wrists felt cold and clammy. She tried to open her eyes. Her eyelids felt like dirty cotton, all dry and hot. Her nose itched. She went to scratch it. She couldn't move her hands. Something around her wrists. Anastasia felt a stab of fear. Her eyes opened, narrow slits full of blurry brightness. Candles? A bunch of candles? A room, tastefully and expensively decorated. Old wood, bookshelves, a Turkish rug, pricey knickknacks. She remembered where she was. She remembered where she was. The ugly Christmas sweater party at the brownstone of Dimitri's friend Chuck. Anastasia had snagged her mother's holiday light sweater, the little bulbs actually lit up, super cute, and slipped out, taking the subway with Kate. Kate's sweater had a gingerbread man with squinty eyes on it, the words, "Let's get baked," stitched on the bottom. There were supposed to be dozens of people at the party. Rich kids like her, artists and models and rappers and singers and actors and wine and all the nose candy she could toot Dimitri had promised. But there hadn't been anyone there other than Dimitri and his two friends, Chuck and Artie. The others were coming, Dimitri had said. He'd given her wine, red wine, a glass for her and Kate both. Chuck had dared them to pound the first glass. He had teased, "You're not a little girl anymore, are you?" Anastasia had looked to Dimitri, hoping he would back her up, but he'd only smiled, shrugged, then drained his own glass. Kate chugged hers. Anastasia had followed suit. Because Kate was a year older, a junior, and already getting her driver's license. Anastasia hadn't wanted to look weak or stupid, didn't want to disappoint Dimitri, so she'd forced her wine down in big gulps. Then she'd felt sleepy. Artie had held something up. Two somethings. Circles of black leather connected with chains. Another stab of fear. This one far worse. Her hands were at her waist. She tried to pull them, heard the rattle of metal and the creak of leather, but she couldn't move them. Leather on her wrists, tight around her neck. Oh, God. Dimitri and Chuck and Artie had drugged her and bound her. She heard her own ragged gasps. Tears wet her eyes, chasing away the cotton, letting her see. Candles everywhere. The brownstone's living room. She was on a white couch. Lights glowed on a green Christmas tree. A small fire crackled in a small fireplace. Someone on the couch next to her. Kate, in her brown sweater with the white trim, leaning on the armrest, facing away. Her hands at her sides, held by black leather cuffs affixed to a gleaming chain around her waist. From that chain, a leather strip ran up her back, where a gleaming ring connected it to a leather collar around her neck. Kate wasn't moving. No one else in the room. Anastasia fought against a scream. Maybe Dimitri and the others didn't know she was awake yet. What were they going to do to her? "Kate," she whispered. "Kate, wake up. We're in trouble." Kate didn't move. Anastasia clumsily reached toward her friend, bumped her shoulder. Kate slid off the couch, slumped on the floor. At first, Anastasia saw only the blood streak on the couch's cushion, on the armrest, candlelit red against snow-white linen. Then she looked down at her friend. A blood-soaked hole in the center of Kate's chest, right through the gingerbread man's squinty face. In that hole, Anastasia saw bits of blood-smeared, broken bone, and a hole where Kate's heart should have been. The taste of blood. Kate's blood had splashed on Anastasia's lips. A scream erupted from Anastasia, but it sounded oddly muffled, deadened, and that, too, was terrifying in itself. She screamed again, even louder, but what came out was even quieter. "That won't work here, my sweet." Dmitri stood in the wide, arched entryway leading to the dining room. It was and it wasn't him. His voice. His so ugly it's cute green and... His voice. His so ugly it's cute green and red checkered sweater with the gold tinsel spelling out "on the naughty list." His gorgeous brown hair. But not his face. Not anyone's face. Green-black skin. Red eyes. A smile that showed pointed teeth, teeth streaked with blood, bits of raw meat stuck between some of them. "I find gag balls to be so cliché," the thing said. "Easier just to turn the room's volume down a bit, don't you think?" Dimitri's voice. The same voice that had read her poetry, had sang her songs. In his green-black hand, a hand that now had long, pointed, ice-black nails, a chunk of raw meat. Kate's heart. Bits of which were stuck between Dimitri's teeth. "Thank you for bringing your friend," Dmitri said. "Kate was quite a trooper." Anastasia's father had told her not to see Dmitri. He'd said the boy was trouble. She'd ignored her father. She'd thought he wanted to keep her locked away like some kind of pet, thought he couldn't handle her becoming a woman. How wrong she had been. "Let me go," she said. Her words the thinnest ribbon of breath. "Let me go." Dmitri smiled, showing more of his pointed teeth. "We will, in a way," he said. "Eventually, you'll get shit out just like Kate will. And some kung pao shrimp we had for lunch. It's too spicy for me, but Chuck loved it. Kate's our first dinner course. We saved you for last. While we eat our fill of her, me and the boys can have some fun with you." He stepped into the living room. Anastasia's legs wouldn't move. Not from restraints, but because they wouldn't obey her. She tried to shrink away, like a puppy afraid of the master's angry hand, but all she did was push her back against the couch. "Just a little spell to keep you in place," Dmitri said. "The restraints are Artie's. He likes that bondage stuff." Chuck and Artie walked in, stood at Dimitri's sides. The same red eyes, the same blood-smeared teeth, although Chuck's skin was more a blue-black and Artie's was more brown. Chuck's sweater was blue, with a Santa peeing an arc of yellow stuff off a snow-covered roof. Artie's sweater had the words, "When I think about you, I touch my elf," complete with a smiling stuffed elf stitched on the part that hung over his crotch. "Dibs on Anna's fingers," Chuck said. Let me do that again, guys. Sorry. "Dibs on Anna's fingers," Chuck said. He had the deepest voice of the three, a man's voice in a teenager's body. Anastasia had wondered if Chuck might become a voice actor someday. The flapping of bird wings startled everyone, so out of place inside the brownstone. A crow flew into the room and madly circled near the ceiling, wingspan almost as wide as Anastasia was tall. "1, 2, 3, 3, 3, the crow said. "That's your ass! Your ass! Your ass!" With that, the bird shot out of the room, heading for the stairs that led to the second floor. A dead friend. Heart-eating monsters. And now, a talking crow. "Chuck," Dmitri said, "did you open a window upstairs?" Chuck's monster face stared blankly. "It was hot up there." Artie's red eyes widened. Monster or not, Anastasia saw the fear on Artie's face. I think that was Shitbird," he said. "We're in trouble, you guys. I'm getting out of here." Dmitri used the hand holding the shredded heart to point at Artie. "You stay right there," Dmitri said. "If you run, I'll—" A loud-as-hell bang of breaking wood and bending metal. Something had hit the front door, undoubtedly smashing it inward. The sound of booted feet on the entryway's tile floor, calmly walking closer. No one moved. A man stepped into the living room. A slate gray robe covered him from head to toe, its hood hiding his face in darkness. "Dmitri Ivanko," the man said, "there's a price on your head. That head is coming with me. Whether or not the rest of your body comes with it, that's up to you." Anastasia's mind reeled. Could this be a nightmare? But it all felt so real. "Look what the raven dragged in," Dmitri said. "If it isn't the Ruxator turned Look what the cat dragged in," Dmitri said. "If it isn't the Ruxator turned bounty hunter. You must be out of the loop, man. If you knew who you were fucking with, you wouldn't have come. Chuck, bring me that prick's heart." Growling like a bear, Chuck took a tentative step forward, stopped when the man in gray raised a hand. "I ain't here for you," he said to Chuck. He looked at Artie. "Or you. You can both walk. But if you come at me, I will cut you down." Chuck glanced at Dmitri. "Either you kill him," Dmitri said, "or I will kill you." Chuck rushed forward, hands extended, sharp claws leading the way. Kate's blood still gleaming on them in ruby streaks. The man in gray flipped his cloak aside. In an instant, Anastasia saw hints of dark gray armor, a holstered pistol, a sheathed knife as long as her arm, but he didn't grab those. His right hand came out holding a little axe. A hatchet, she remembered. Just as Chuck closed in, claws first. The man in gray sidestepped and chopped down. A sound like breaking branches wrapped in a wet blanket. Chuck's leg dropped off at the knee. He screamed the scream of a demon, tumbled into the Christmas tree, knocking it over in a clatter of ornaments and hissing branches, his blood flying everywhere. Hideous lips in a sharp-toothed howl of agony, Chuck grabbed at his spurting leg. The hatchet came down fast and hard, thunked into Chuck's head. The monster in the pissing Santa sweater shuddered, twitched, then fell to his side against the toppled tree, his dead weight smashing delicate ornaments. The man in gray yanked the hatchet free, turned, and faced Dmitri. Anastasia's boyfriend didn't look quite so confident anymore. "Listen, Hunter," he said, "we can work something out." For the first time, Anastasia realized it wasn't the hood that hid the man's face, but rather a blackness, dense like the smoke of an oil fire. The blackness quivered slightly with his every move, his every word. "Too late for that, Ivanko," he said. Dmitri ran for the dining room. The hatchet whizzed through the air, a blurred circle of death. The blade dug deep between Dmitri's shoulder. Try that again, sorry. I got blades twice in a sentence. I'll fix that later. The hatchet whizzed through the air, a blurred circle of death. It dug deep between Dmitri's shoulder blades. He grunted and fell face first, smacking hard against the floor. The gray hood turned toward Artie. I'll just see myself out," Artie said. He walked quickly toward the wide arch that led to the foyer, his green-black monster face wincing the whole way, as if he'd expected to be struck, but the man in gray ignored him. Instead, the cloaked figure strode toward Dmitri, who was crawling across the floor. The man yanked the hatchet free from Dmitri's back, raised it, brought it down hard and final on the back of Dmitri's neck. Dmitri's head rolled free, a stub of a neck squirting red blood across the floor. His back now to Anastasia, the man again reached into his cloak, came out with a box of some kind. A head-sized box, made of metal and etched with weird little symbols. In went Dmitri's head. The man pulled the box close. Anastasia saw his cloak ripple, but when he stood and faced her, the box was gone. Give me a second here. I got to figure out where this is. Probably shouldn't sing circus music while I'm doing this, right? Opening part 2. Poop. What's in the book? Give me a sec, you guys. I got to figure this out. Where the hell this page is at? Plot work. Not on plot work. I'm stumped. Give me a sec. All right, gang, bear with me while I get my computer so I can figure this out. Text him up, baby. I can't find the next chapter. Oh, should I come in? Nope. Yeah, go ahead and come on in, babe.
I'm not going to bring my computer.
No need. You just have to entertain these people. By people, I mean them. You entertain them while I figure out.
They are people. That's how that works.
What is going on is I use a program called Scrivener.
You're going to do fine.
And I just have to figure out where the hell the next chapter is.
Do you have your windows open?
Pardon? Yes, they're open.
Goodness, that is...
Is it cold?
No, it's not cold, but for
it's noisy.
Recording, can you turn on my
Oh, of course, darling. Hold on.
Yeah.
This is why we win Emmys, people. This is why we win Emmys.
This is why we're made of magic. So, while he's working on
image 1 to 3.
Are you good? Yeah. Oh, not yet. Well, he's working. I will say.
I'm good.
Okay. Goodbye. I'll see you in a little bit.
Get the hell out of my office, woman.
How dare I? How dare I?
Sorry about that, peeps. Let's let Steve the Iceberg Reichenberg deal with that shit. It's gonna be great. See you, baby. Oh, I don't need these headphones. All right, people, here we go. And find my center. Also, and I'll hit a scotch. Here we go. The shadow-faced man walked toward her, hatchet still in hand. Anastasia winced, tried to lean away. "Oh," the man said. "Sorry about that." He wiped the blade of his hatchet against the couch, then slid it inside his cloak. "I'm not going to hurt you. Stay still." As if she had any choice. He undid her restraints, tossed them on the floor. She stood. Her legs worked again. "Don't run," the man said. "If you do, that other one could get you." Chuck, dead. Dmitri, dead. They had killed Kate, but they hadn't done it alone. "The other one's name is Artie," Anastasia said. "He's getting away." She heard the terror lace in her words, and yet she was oddly surprised that she wasn't a babbling, insane wreck. "He's not my problem," the man in gray said. Anastasia looked into the wavering smoke covering the man's face, searching for eyes, for any semblance of the person behind it. She found none. "But he's a monster," she said. "He'll do this to someone else. Aren't you like a monster hunter or something?" Monster hunter. It sounded ridiculous to say those words out loud, like that was reality and not something for one of her little brother's video games. But that is what Dmitri had called the man. That and Rixator? "My work carries a price," the man said. "Are you putting a bounty on Artie's head?" A what? A bounty? Dude, I'm only 15. Whatever it was that covered his face receded, a spent wave sliding back across the sand and into the sea. What lay beneath was both comforting and terrifying in its own right. Comforting because he was human, something she'd taken for granted, but not anymore. He was an old man, maybe 30 or 40. Anastasia wasn't good at guessing ages. He had high cheekbones and a heavy jaw. But terrifying because of his bright steel gray eyes. Or rather, what was in them? an analytical coldness that made her shiver. The eyes of a butcher, maybe, of someone who kills without a second thought. Then this Artie isn't my problem. Pay to slay, girl. He paused, waiting for something. Did he think that slogan was cool, maybe? Are you hurt, girl? Did they bite you? He glanced down at her waist. I mean, like, anywhere. Just the thought of that was almost as bad as Kate's heart being ripped out. Almost. I don't think so. Tears came now, unbidden and unstoppable. Anastasia wiped them away. If they did, do I turn into one of them? He smiled ruefully, his gray-peppered stubble making deep laugh lines at the corner of his mouth seem deeper, darker, only Anastasia had a feeling those lines weren't from laughing. Screaming lines, maybe? They weren't those kind of monsters, he said. Regular old carnivores. With a sadistic streak, of course. There was nothing regular about them, or you. The man in gray huffed. You can say that again. You saw them as they truly are? Faces like a rhino's ass? A single laugh unexpectedly slid out of Anastasia's mouth. What a funny expression, and yet kind of accurate. She'd seen that animated gif with the rhino pooping. Yeah, she said. They were horrible. Monsters are real. I have to tell someone. Everyone. What are they? What are you? You've seen too much, the man said. You won't be telling anyone anything. Those cold, cold eyes. The darkness lurking within them. Was he going to kill her? The doorbell rang, and she nearly jumped out of her skin. It's all right, the man said. He turned his head, shouted toward the door. Fucking come in already! Anastasia heard the door creak, heard the clatter of small steps. The children? They entered the living room. 5 of them. They weren't children, unless children could somehow grow white beards that hung down to pot bellies. Little people. Very little. Not even 3 feet tall. They wore pointy black leather hats. The one in front wore leather pants held up by sparkly pink suspenders. No shirt. Curly white chest hair. His leather crotch stuck out obscenely. Did he have a boner? With him, 2 little people girls, 2 little people boys. The girls wore fishnet stockings and red miniskirts. One wore a tight shirt that said Daddy's Little Hoe, spelled H-O, on it. The boy on the left wore nothing but a jockstrap dotted with rhinestones. The one on the right, a leather mask with a zipper for a mouth. The one in front, the one with the suspenders, glanced at Artie, then Kate, then Termite. The one in front, the one with the suspenders, glanced at Artie, then Kate, then Dmitri. Well, this is a bit of a mess, he said. You want them removed? Property damage fixed? They stay, the man in gray said. Clean it all up. Leave it for the cops. The little man hooked his thumbs in his suspenders. Gotta get real dirty to get real clean, he said. Job looks like 7 pieces of gold, 6 of silver. The man in gray nodded. Fair enough. I gotta collect the bounty first. On credit again, huh? The little man sighed. Just once, maybe, you could have money on hand. No big whoop. Want us to get started? My cock's so hard a cat couldn't scratch it. The man in gray's eyes narrowed. Reel in the language, Bingles. This girl's underage. The bearded man shrugged. Well, this orgy ain't gonna suck itself, he said. Say, you went out on the action this time? Tim Tom here's been talking about what a fine ass you got. The one in the jockstrap grinned wide. Oops. Damn it. I know I wrote it. It was very egotistical, but But swear to God, I've been holding back a laugh for like 10 minutes. So now I'm going to try and work my way. Work my... Sounded funny when I read it out loud. I'm so sorry. Okay, here we go. As Dr. Daniel Bigger, PhD, knows, once the giggles start, it'll be a challenge to put them away. Here we go. The one in the jockstrap grinned wide and pointed to his jockstrap. The man in gray shuddered. No thanks. You got a forget-me-dot on you by chance? Please, Bingle said. I don't, and even if I did, I wouldn't sell it to you on credit. Work on your cash flow, man. The man in gray's cold eyes again locked with Anastasia's. He reached into his cloak, came out with a small silver flower, 5 teardrop-shaped petals angling up away from a bumpy central ling. It's going to be okay, he said. You're not going to remember any of this. Anastasia stared at the delicate, gleaming bit of silver. What is that? It's complicated. They're crazy expensive. This is my last one. But, after what you've been through, I think you deserve it. Anastasia glanced at her dead friend, at the 2 monsters leaking blood across the hardwood floor, soaking into the Turkish rug. My friend was just murdered, she said, by a monster I thought was my boyfriend. You killed a guy with a hatchet. There's little people dressed up like some kind of Wizard of Oz porno. Forget? I doubt it, mister. Stay still, he said. This won't hurt. He put a hand on her shoulder, squeezed just hard enough to silently say, this is happening whether you want it to or not, then gently pressed the silver flower against her forehead. Anastasia Wainwright felt the Anastasia Wainwright felt the metal's chill, then it warmed, became a buzzing tingle. She couldn't see it, but she felt the flower slide through skin and skull, felt it expand inside her brain. The sensation put Coke to shame. The room filled with white light. The last thing she saw was the black cowl washing over his face, hiding away the heartless gray eyes. Schwarmy sound. Anastasia woke to someone gently shaking her shoulder. Her eyes... Anastasia woke to someone gently shaking her shoulder. Her eyes felt like they were filled with cotton, all dry and itchy. With effort, she opened them to find a woman staring at her. The woman wore blue rubber gloves. A paramedic? Take it easy, the woman said. Some bad things happened. A white sheet on the floor covering a body. Anastasia knew who it was. Oh no, she said, her soul suddenly hollow. Is that Kate? The paramedic nodded. Yes, she overdosed. So did 2 of your friends. Anastasia remembered them taking the pills. She had refused. I told her not to take it, she said. Kate told me not to be such a nerd. And now Kate was dead. If Anastasia had taken it, she might be dead too. Do you know what they took, miss? They were blue. Dimitri said they were fentanyl. Medical grade, though, he said. He said they were medical grade. Dimitri, is he? The paramedic glanced to her right. Anastasia looked and... Damn it. The paramedic glanced to her right. Anastasia looked in time to see Dimitri's face in that crazy Christmas sweater of his just before a man in a windbreaker pulled a white sheet over him. He's dead, the paramedic said. So is a boy named Charles. Anastasia felt like all of reality had just drained from her body. Chuck, she said. What about Artie? Is he dead too? Just the 3 of them. The paramedic looked off, beckoned someone over. A man in a brown sport coat walked over. He knelt next to the paramedic. "You're a minor, and you have the right to have your guardian or legal representation present when you speak to me," the man said. "But if you wait for that, it might be too late for anyone else who was here. Are you willing to talk to me?" If Artie wasn't here, the poor boy was out there somewhere, and he had taken the same pills. Anastasia had to help him. "Yes," she said. "I'll tell you everything I know." The detective nodded. "Great. First, was he wearing anything distinctive?" "When I think about you, I touch my elf." She told the detective everything she knew, and she hoped that Artie was still alive. There you are. Come on back in, baby. When I think about you, I touch my elf. Oh. Okay, let's turn up Slay lower third. Back to main. Let's get back to your camera here, darling.
I mean, maybe not while I'm setting up. You could talk to them for a while. Move this?
Move which?
The keyboard?
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to my camera since I'm the one doing the talking.
This is totally how the sausage gets made.
This is how the sausage is made. You can see when I got down to the end, I hadn't quite finished. The detective had a name at one point. I don't know what it was, but it's no longer in the script that I wrote because I was slamming there at the end. All right, so we're going to switch over to chat. We'll go to A's cam. Hey, we talk about whatever. I'm eager. I'm going to read through the chat. Tell me what you guys thought of that episode. That is, of course, the start. I will tell you in advance. So you may hear from Anastasia again, but the purpose of that open is that little Anastasia, poor little 15-year-old girl who chose to run away and do her own thing, she doesn't remember any of that shit. That's the purpose of it.
So Noisy was in the chat room, and she asked if...
Cheers, Noisy.
If it was a problem that she hadn't heard the first two episodes, and I thought that was no big deal.
That's the first episode.
That's the whole point.
That's the first episode. And we're going to, as we kludge our way through the rest of this shit, as we start to post these on a regular weekly basis, we will announce what episode it is, and hopefully then what you need to listen to. And within episode 6 or 7, we'll have go to this URL, listen to all of these podcasts, go to this URL. You can watch all the videos. If you like looking at my big bald mug reading to you, we can do that too. The video that will get posted for these episodes will also be edited, so there'll be some jump cuts. It'll be like this, like that. Don't worry about it. As long as it sounds pretty, that's all that matters.
Sometimes I'll be here, sometimes I won't.
Steve the Iceberg Rickyberg, tell me what you think of this new pop filter, buddy. I think it stops all the pops.
I'm not sure if he asked me by text if we're using the right mics and the right whatever, so we'll have to talk offline about that.
We'll have to talk offline. I don't know.
Because I don't know the answer.
Something goofy's going on. Yeah, Steve Rickyberg says, new meaning to Elf on the Shelf. That is correct. Okay, you guys, and we're going to...
That's because you left the windows open.
I left the windows open. We're eventually going to try and do this, read for 20, 25 minutes, talk about the story for 20 minutes or so, if you like. And
apparently there's a carnival right outside our
carnival.
door.
Because we want the purpose of, one of the purposes of
generators running,
is I would like to get people's live feedback on the episodes so that only those who are tuning in every week and kind of getting in the trenches with us can have some feedback on the story and maybe, spark some ideas I wouldn't have thought of, or, pray that Bingles doesn't get killed or something like that. I went to make Bingles a small town pizza lawyer in the fly in my head. It didn't work out, but I think he's fine. I think Bingles turned out okay. Let's go. Shitbird, of course, as you guys have heard before, Shitbird is back in what is now episode 2. Nyoka, I am going to do every Wednesday, man. Every Wednesday we're going to do this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I enjoyed reading it to you. It was, once I got to the Bengals part, I'm like, oh, this is what a Sigler book's all about. All right, cool.
I love that you lost your own shit.
I was good right up until I had that bad read, and then I went back to read it, and I lost it. There's this thing. I will tell you this thing. So Dan Baker and our buddy Rob Otto, I believe Rob may have written the words to this. Someone wrote the words to this. It is a dirty version of the Godzilla cartoon theme song. And 40 years in running, I've not been able to, I'm laughing. I've never been able to sing these lyrics without laughing.
I have no idea what's about to happen, guys, just in case.
But we're going to give it We're going to give it a shot here right on live TV. Here we go. This is what Rob would do this, be able to sing with a deadpan face, and then tell me to go. In 40 years on, I have not been able to, not 40, 30 years on, I've never been able to get through this with a straight face. But I succeeded on that episode, so here we go. Up from the fly, 12 inches long, shooting sperm, hard and strong, big dong.
I think we can leave it.
That's the closest I've ever got.
I think we can leave it there. I genuinely think we can leave it there.
Anyways, this is what teenage boys talk about to make each other laugh. And cheers to you guys that couldn't get through it. So very fun episode. Now we're moving on to other things. You talked about your Christmas presents. Talking about Christmas presents. What's going on?
Yeah, we had the crazy Christmas. We had a kind of a weird Christmas. We're hoping the kind of interesting thing is the people we were going to get together on Christmas with, who canceled right before Christmas because that was the right thing to do. Are recovering from the cold that made them cancel, which means that we might get to see them on New Year's Eve, which is sort of fun. The two of us, we talked a lot about it. We went out on the weekend of the 16th of December, 16th, 17th, 18th. We went downtown to San Diego. We got a hotel room for one night. We went to a Christmas party, like a private Christmas party, but in a private room, I mean, so it wasn't too many people. And then we had dinner out quite early so that we could sit outside. It was warm enough, and we did okay. We came back from that. We didn't have colds, anything like that. But then like a week later, it's weird. This is winter, and COVID and RSV and flu is all pretty weird. So we did the right thing, but we're sort of hoping now that we get together with all of those people that we missed on Christmas on New Year's Eve. I'm not really sure what everybody else's plans are for New Year's Eve, but if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a little chilly. And so if you're going to be inside, be careful, because there's so many things going around. And if you're in the Midwest, there's also a measles outbreak. If you're in the Midwest in the U.S., there's also a measles outbreak in Ohio. So maybe be careful.
Ollie Kirby in the chat room said, the sex gnomes have put the sausage where it's not meant to go. Listen, bro, you guys, if you're going to keep listening to this story, you are not allowed to place judgment on the sex gnomes because he all have consent.
I'm not sure that he was placing judgment.
Well, what I'm saying is,
in the world of sex gnomes,
no, no, ma'am, no.
It won't go in your ear.
Nay,
it won't go in.
In the world of the sex gnomes, the sausage goes wherever they want to put it, as long as where they want to put it says, I'm fine with you putting your sausage here.
I know, but some things, even if you say you're fine, it doesn't fit. Like a sausage gnome, a gnome sausage can't go right. There's
Happy birthday, Kim.
Where for it to go.
Oh, by the way,
Kim
Hansen. What's up? Getting a clear bill of health. What's up, girl? Yes, good job. Kim Hansen had a little bit of a medical issue. What does Charles Grodin say? He's going to call it a procedure, but it's an operation. She had a little thing going on, and came back as a thing that she doesn't need to be concerned about, which is delightful. It's something like that. I don't know medicine. Jesus Christ, I'm not a fucking doctor. What do you want?
I will say this. This is a crowd that will love this. Today, today would have been Stanley's 100th birthday.
That's crazy to me. This shows you how old I am. I'm like, Stanley. No, of course I know he was old and shit. We saw him once at a Comic-Con, and he was literally on a carpet roller, and people were pulling him along because his little legs didn't work anymore. And he's like walking around like this, squinting. Everybody like, Excelsior, Excelsior. That's all he did. But to think that he was got 100, like I think people were like got like the 100th birthday of like Mark fucking Twain. Like when I think like that's an old dude who wrote shit. And we celebrate his century, but not Stan Lee.
Although I will tell you, I think I probably have told you on this cast before. I met Stan Lee at Comic-Con ages ago. It might have been. It was still in the David Tennant era of Who. So 2010, 11-ish. And I was actually working Comic-Con and had passes to use like sort of back stairways and stuff like that. And I was headed towards a stairway that you needed the right access for with my boss and going and he came out. And I legitimately, like, he came out right as I was trying to go into a normal sized door. And I went, thank you so much, Mr. Lee, for everything you've done for us. And he did this without even missing a beat. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much for caring. Thank you so much. And he walked on.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And I had a job to do. And I literally stood there for some reason with my hands up, sort of like this. Until somebody was like, I mean, maybe you should go into the stairwell, and kind of force me in the stairwell. And, I know that that's a hard moment.
I don't know if we should say Stanley forced you into a stairwell, though. But...
He didn't. He went the other way. What he did is put me into character choosing mode.
I only saw him one time, and it was that time he wasn't actually rolling in a carpet cart, but let's assume he was. Let's assume he was.
He never did.
He was doing like this, and he had I've walked in the same room path, same place with Kanye West.
That's true.
Kanye West had some serious ass bodyguards. These are guys. They radiated politeness. They smiled. But they also, with their eyes, very, very, very calmly with their eyes, these dangerous-looking motherfuckers were all like, yes, it's Kanye West. It'd be better if you just stayed right there and watched him pass by. If you approach him, I'm going to have to talk to you. So I stayed right the fuck where I was. That's Kanye West. Stan Lee's bodyguards, or S whatever you call them, his helpers, his handlers, were much more like, please, Jesus, don't come up and try and touch him. Come on, just like let him go. It takes us a long time to walk across this floor. Help a brother out.
He's just like,
help a brother out.
And that was my experience. Different experience, but and years before it was like, just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving. Everybody with him was like, just keep moving. But yeah, that was at Comic-Con ages ago. That was the same year I walked past David Tennant in a hotel lobby, and like Fembach glitched. I literally was like...
It was great to see him, I think back to, Dr. Dan Baker, PhD, when he wasn't a doctor PhD. We'd known each other for a very long time. And we were little kids.
He was just a doctor.
No. He wasn't. He was in the third grade. Jesus.
I know. He's still
he was
most
pretty smart.
Brilliant people we know.
He was pretty smart. He could have been a doctor and just hit it. We don't know.
Yeah.
We would ride our bikes, I think it was 2.5, 3 miles or something like that, to TJ's Party Store. And TJ's Party Store is the closest place to us that we could get to that had comic books. And we would go every weekend to get whatever the latest title that was out. I think they come out on Thursdays. Mm-hmm. Get all our Spider-Man, get all our X-Men. My friends read that stupid DC shit, but I still love them. But I get all the Marvel stuff. And that was when Stan Lee was writing himself into the front panels of the comic books, like little comic book Stan Lee, talking about what's going on. He was all over the Comic Book Collector's Guide, which I bought randomly. My dad bought for me on vacation. I started collecting comics after. And he was just such a fucking icon that the one time I saw him, I was just an absolute deer in the headlights. I was just like, is this Stan Lee in a carpet roller? Sweet. And A at least got a chance to speak to the man before he passed on. Hey, Shannon.
Yeah.
Hello, Rosa.
So interestingly, at that same Comic-Con where I accidentally ran into Stan Lee and he was lovely, was also the one Comic-Con where I could have probably gone up to David Tennant because he was in the lobby. I was with my friend Allison, and he was in the lobby of the Marriott in San Diego, the Marriott Marquis in San Diego, and we walked by, and she grabbed me bodily by the arm and around my shoulder like this. She did this to me, and she's like, "I know, just keep walking, just keep walking, just keep walking, just keep walking, just keep walking." And I was like, "That's David Tennant. That's David Tennant." And she's like, "I know, but you have to have a thing you're going to say to him. You have to have a plan.
You can't go up and say, 'You're David Tennant.'"
Yeah, and what I said to my dear friend Allison was, "But that's David Tennant." She's like, "I know. What would you say to him?" And what do you think I said? What do you think I said?
I don't know, dude.
You guess. To Allison, not to David Tennant.
Help me be cool.
Yeah, close. I said for the third time, "That's David Tennant." And she was like, we're not going to go meet him.
Sometimes you get in a loop and not quite break out of it, you know. All right,
I'm choosing my own character, and the character is a complete nerd.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a longer read. It was a girthy read.
It was okay, though.
And was it a turgid read? Maybe on the rewrite. We'll see. But I hope you enjoyed it very much. We're closing up on the hour here. We're not going to do questions from the preserved questions, but if you have any quick questions in the chat room, throw them out. What else? Yeah, Steve in the chat room goes, the program is a fatal error and must close. I've had that literally.
Exactly. That's exactly
literally
what I did.
Every time I have met a famous fucking person, I just shut down. It's the craziest thing. I just shut down.
The worst I ever did was with Nichelle Nichols, which was help me be cool.
Help me be cool. Help me be cool.
And poor Scott had to say right in front of that beautiful woman, I think that ship has sailed. I think I cannot.
There is no being cool. So we're going to be back. We're going to hang out for a couple minutes. We're going to be back next week. Mm-hmm. Now, remember, those of you who are still watching, if you can work your schedule accordingly, great. If not, remember, everything is canned. You can watch after the fact. We go live. We start the stream at 5:55 p.m. Pacific time. We go live at 6 p.m. Pacific time. The read starts at 6:05 p.m. Pacific time. We don't wait. We don't wait for nobody. If you're not here on time, we're going to go ahead and go without you, which is why everything's canned. And then what you just heard tonight will be, sorry, Steve, will be the actual audio that goes into the feed. It's going to have to get fixed up a little bit.
But Steve is a pro. It's fine.
Steve is
fine.
Steve is
He's an absolute pro. So that's all going to be fine. So here's the thing. Next week, we're going to be back. We are going to do, and I know we haven't done Sigler Junkies or Junkie Photos or any of that since kind of early November, and we've got a lot to celebrate. We have so many good things going on in the Junkie family, and we're going to do that next week. We're also going to kind of talk about our year in review, which used to take a whole hour, but since we don't go anywhere because it's a pandemic, it'll take less time. We did a few things, but we'll do that next week. If you guys have questions or whatever, you're welcome to send them in because we will be filling in the second half an hour of the reading of Slay with questions and stuff. You can send them in if you want earlier, in ahead of time, and photos if you'd like. But
hold on, I'm talking about Grace.
Linda Anderson, so nice to see you out there.
So a couple people have asked, like, Scott, what about your bodyguards? What do you do for your bodyguards? First of all, this will sound like a reverse humble brag. Reverse humble brag. I have delightful fans like yourselves. I have lots of people I talk to at cons. Cons are the best time. I love when I go on tour. It's all great. I am not quite to the level of fame where one requires a bodyguard beyond the level of what I'm able to just politely manage on my own self. When it does get a little bit iffy, then the Winston Wolfe here steps in and takes care of business.
There are a few folks
He's got
who,
mad skills.
Who and it's
Thank
not,
you, Linda.
I don't think it's any of you guys, but there have been a handful of times in our career together where there have been a few people who feel overly familiar with Scott, even though they've never actually met Scott, because Scott lives in their head once a week.
I'm in your head, rent-free.
And it's a little weird sometimes, but it hasn't ever been really been bad. But it's been weird sometimes where people just think that because Scott shares in his 4 Minutes of Fury or whatever, things going on in his life, they sort of feel like they're pals with Scott, and Scott is also caught up on their life. Mm-hmm. And so that has been nothing ever dangerous or bad or sad or whatever, just a little bit like curating, like, okay, we don't know what you're talking about.
As I said, sometimes you get a little overly familiar, if that makes sense, but I don't have those problems, man. I really don't. We can tell, I've had the most difficult story I can tell is when I thought someone was going to fucking try and kill me. Nobody actually tried to kill me. It's a piece of cake. So, yeah,
I didn't know that story.
It's you do. I'm
okay. You're being careful about it.
Burned all of my storytelling energy. Let's call it energy on what Slay. I just wrote for all of you people this afternoon.
So listen, we're going to be back next Wednesday. I think it's the 4th. Is it January 4th? We're going to talk about our year in review from this past year. You're going to hear some more Slay.
You get to meet Magda. You guys get to meet Magda.
Oh, Magda is.
And I'm sorry. I don't mean to ruffle my own feathers, as one often does. I don't mean to toot my own horn.
Don't you mean to preen your own feathers?
I don't mean to preen my own. You know what I'm saying. I'm an ornithologist. I don't mean to preen my own feathers, but I've already introduced you guys some salt on the elbow characters that may not yet be your favorite and that you would die for, but they soon will be. Magda takes the cake. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you this. I'm going to tell you this one time only. Only live. We're going to cut this and it'll never be heard from again. Magda is based on Wanda Sykes.
Oh, that's true. So
keep that in mind as you listen to next week's episode.
I didn't think he was going to say that. What I'll say is this. You guys are super excited about sex gnomes, and I understand that, and I understand why. I am super excited for you guys to meet Magda. That's what I'm going to say.
Bingle's gonna bang you. That's what we're gonna talk about. Bingle. That's Bingo's catch line. I gotta write that down. Right, baby, write that.
No.
I do this like, baby, write down this horrible, offensive line. She's like, no, I'm not gonna. And then it's gone. I don't have it anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, as my lovely wife said, well, back in January 4th, our first show of the science fiction era that is 2023, that none of us from the 80s ever should have lived long enough to see because it's Blade Runner and all that other shit. And we're going to have Slay Part
5, I think. 4 or 5?
4.
Whichever.
Slay Part 4.
Slay Part next.
Plus Empty Set 2022
2022
Empty
recap.
Set 22 recap, as my awesome wife just said. Until then, we need you to stay smart.
You guys, listen, I know it's New Year's Eve. I know you want to celebrate. Celebrate safe. Celebrate protected. Celebrate. Watch out for the weather. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, well, fuck it, wherever you are in the world, watch out for anything respiratory, watch out for anything weather related, because it's a crazy world right now. And we want to carry you guys all with us into 2023, happy and healthy. And
ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to go celebrate New Year's Eve tonight with my wife. Can get a little drunk. Might get a little...
It's not New Year's Eve, but we're going to do that anyway.
Well, we're going to do it New Year's Eve too. But it's been 7 hours of writing that is supposed to take 3 hours. I got to work on this goddamn math. I'm not good at this shit at all. And for the love of science,
you guys need to stay informed.
Stay informed. We're now in the triple-demic or whatever the F. There's a lot of...
At least. There's also a measles outbreak in the Midwest in the United States.
Goddamn, are you serious? A measles fucking outbreak? When there's a thing called... It starts with a V. What is it? It's been around... It's been around for... We thought we had this disease eradicated because of the...
We thought we were the smartest sentients on the planet.
Vaccine? Is that what it is?
That was the one.
We thought there was a thing called the vaccine, but
Love you, Jude.
Some poorly uninformed, misguided individuals have been convinced they don't need to give their kids this vaccine. So now we have a situation. Anyways, we're not gonna go crazy on this.
Jenna Lee, we're gonna show beautiful photos next week. Come back.
Beautiful photos next week. I'm gonna go get tanked. For the love of science, stay informed.
We love you guys. Have a happy new year.
We all know, we'll tell you, with all of the love that is possible to be possessed in these two chests, we want you to kiss off into the sky.